On this week's show, the Georgia Southern football team prepares for their final game of the season as they host Troy. We had a chance to talk with head coach Tyson Summers and some of the seniors, and we also check in with the men's and women's basketball and how things are going there. All that and more as we welcome you inside the Eagles Nest. Hey, welcome inside the Eagles Nest. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. And Mike, one game left for the Georgia Southern Eagle football team. We know that'll be their final game of the season. They'll be hosting Troy. They're somewhere between a 7 and 9 point underdog as far as Vegas goes, but the frustrating season, the disappointing season will come to a close this Saturday. Hopefully the crowd will show up to send the seniors off who've had, 3 coaches in their years playing and have been through quite a bit, have kind of laid the foundation moving up to FBS and won immediately with the Sun Belt Championship, won a bowl game. So there's plenty of them to look back on, but unfortunately, this season as seniors has been quite frustrating. They've got Troy. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it's a little strange to see where they are right now after all that they've accomplished. As you mentioned, going through not only coaching changes, but the change from FCS to FBS. These seniors are all guys who were recruited back when Georgia Southern was still an FCS school, so they've really overachieved. One of the more successful transitions from 1 year in FCS to the very next year, going undefeated in conference play, going to a bowl game and winning that bowl game the next year. The only step they couldn't take was just finishing strong, and I mean, there's plenty of reasons for why things haven't gone right this year. The one thing I do think you can say, though, is that this team is going to fight hard. Everybody knows how much these seniors have meant to the program, what they've done, and even though they can't earn a bowl game with a win against Troy, you know that there's going to be a lot of guys out there fighting to send guys like Matt Breida, Kevin Ellison, Jay Ellison, guys who have been with it, been starting and contributing for years and years. They would love to send them out with a win.
All right, well, the X's and O's for this game, Troy comes in. They did lose their one game, but this past week, Lafayette knocks off Arkansas State, so you got a lot of teams with one loss going on out there, right there on top of the Sun Belt standing. So this game does still mean a lot for Troy, who comes in as one of the top defenses, not only in the Sun Belt, but in the nation.
Right, and they've got plenty to play for now. A win guarantees them at least a share of the conference championship, and they're guaranteed a bowl game of some sort, maybe playing for a higher-end bowl game, maybe the New Orleans Bowl for Troy. I know as tough as they've had it the last couple of years, this is a team that, if you haven't paid attention to the Sun Belt, used to dominate the Sun Belt. They had parts of 5 consecutive conference championships about a decade ago, so this is a team that you figure is going to be around for a while. Even if head coach Neil Brown, he's done such a good job, you might start to see his name pop up on lists of bigger places that coaches might be heading off to. But I do think that Troy's back. They're going to be a team that hopefully, if Georgia Southern can turn it around, one of the teams that they'll be competing with year in and year out.
All right, well, we had a chance to talk with head coach Tyson Summers and some of the players about the matchup with Troy.
We really just want to finish out strong. Just, we're here at Paulson, and it's a beautiful place here. It's a special place. And so, to end the season out here, we want to make sure we end out on a great note. As seniors, it's our last time at Paulson. This is legit our last game. So we want to actually go out with a bang. Even though it's been a bad season, it's not the way we wanted it to go. And, hey, things like that happen. It's football. It's just a game chance. But, we really hope to finish out this one, the right way.
Well, we were part of that first team to beat a FBS school with Florida. We also won a conference our first year in the Sun Belt and won the first bowl game ever. So I think we have a lot, to take us out with. So I think we should hold our heads up high, even though things didn't go as well as we wanted them this year. But I think we did a lot while we were here.
No regrets, you live and learn. I had mistakes here, but they taught me, become a better man, coming through here with this football program, and showed me how to, live my life the correct way. So ain't no regrets for me.
It's been tough. These past 3 days has been so tough for me, and I can say the same for all the seniors. Just to know that we have one last game here at Paulson Stadium, and as a college football player at Georgia Southern. But if you really look back these past 4 years, what we have done here is something magical, and nobody ever gave us the opportunity or the thought that we're going to be able to do this. But I'm just ready to come back here as an alumni, as a part of EFAA, and I come watch these games as an alumni.
The first thing, again, goes back to these seniors and trying to make sure we win a game. It's always going to be about trying to make sure that we win and working to do everything we can do to prepare for that. And it is emotional because of, I've only really been with these guys for about 11 months, but you feel such an attachment to them and the appreciation that you have for them, and you know what an emotional day it's going to be for them coming up. And my emotions are to win the game and go 100 miles an hour at recruiting. That's where we're at, and that's where we're trying to head and make sure that we're taking care of that, and hopefully being able to be in the same place we were last year with the top team in the Sun Belt Conference from a recruiting standpoint. Well, I certainly think that the seniors have made sure they made it known, to the younger guys about the importance of this week and the way that they're trying to carry themselves and lead. I think, like I said earlier, I think the big thing is certainly everybody in every part of our organization wanting to make sure we win the game. Troy's a good opponent, got a good staff, got a good team all the way around, and certainly deserving of everything that they've been able to earn at this point in time. But our seniors deserve and have certainly earned an opportunity to go out and win this game and being an opportunity again to finish up in Paulson Stadium, and that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. I hope I've learned a lot. I think whenever you go into your first year of anything, certainly transition into being a coordinator, transition into changing a position sometimes, first time father, new husband, whatever it is, they're big roles. And sometimes in those roles, you're trying so hard to do everything right. You're trying so hard to make everything perfect. Sometimes, you look up and sometimes you miss the forest for the trees sometimes, and I certainly think I've made my fair share of mistakes. I think the thing that I've really worked hard to try to do outside of developing the relationships with the players and the team that we have is try to be analytical with those things. I go through each day and each night and talk about a better way that I could have had a conversation, a better way that I could have looked at something, a better way to communicate with our offensive staff, our defensive staff, a better way to try to practice through a transition, and so I try to look at those things each day. I've kept a number of notebooks that I keep kind of in the bottom of one of my drawers, and as we go through, one of the things last week I was able to accomplish while we had some time off was to go ahead and try to kind of self-scout myself right now. And so the things that have come up that I feel like I've made mistakes on in the fall, that I can move ahead, and I'm not trying to think about those things in March or April or May. I've already got it down on a sheet of paper of how we're going to do it and why we're going to do it, and so I've tried to go ahead and get ahead of all those things already.
The busiest travel days of the year will soon be here. What better way to arrive at Grandma's house, or any house, than in a beautiful new vehicle from Franklin Chevrolet in Statesboro. The new models are a feast for the eyes and as comfortable as mashed potatoes and apple pie. And comfortable is the way you feel each and every time you visit our dealership. Come in and take advantage of special holiday savings at Franklin Chevy. You'll drive home satisfied.
And a reminder that game was moved from a 1 o'clock to a 12 o'clock start and will be on ESPN2 on Saturday. Well, shifting gears to basketball, where the Georgia Southern men have reeled off a couple of nice victories as part of the Savannah Invitational. Unfortunately, the women played an early game earlier this week and weren't able to come out on top, and now they'll be on the road for a little while. Your thoughts on the men and women?
Well, the women, after starting off with 2 victories to begin the season, they've fallen on some harder times, 5 straight losses now for the Eagles. I think that it's still a work in progress, and much like with the men, they've played so many road games. This is a team that's still mixing and matching players from the old coaching staff with Kip Drown's new players, a couple of recruiting classes for him. I think it's just a matter of them getting some more time playing together in practice, which he mentioned, once the finals are over, once the break's over, once these long road trips are over, maybe they'll have some time to really gel together. And this does look like a team with more talent than in years past. I think that you will start to see them turn a corner. As for the men, big things expected this year for the Eagles, and we're starting to see some glimpses of that, much like the women's team. A lot of road games, a lot of long road trips with quick turnarounds, kind of hurting them, playing some tough teams. They start the Savannah Invitational outside of Savannah. They lose a game at Mercer, lose a game at Akron, but once they get to, I guess, kind of their home turf, they're able to defend it. They knock off Florida A&M and then a very tough game against Radford where it's the defense that holds on, enough shooting to get them ahead late in the game, and then very impressive. 53 seconds left, up by a point. Georgia Southern never touches the ball, but their defense is good enough to hold on for the victory.
All right, well, let's get out and take a look at some of the highlights from men's and women's basketball. Georgia Southern going up against Florida A&M in their first game at Savannah in the Savannah Invitational. The Rattlers striking early. Desmond Williams with the bucket. Georgia Southern responds with the long ball. Jake Alsmiller going to spot up and hit the three, but Alsmiller just getting warmed up. Seconds later, he's dialed in again. Eagles up 4. How about a third three from Alsmiller, this time from way downtown? Alsmiller with 5 first-half three-pointers. However, Florida A&M hanging around. Williams coming up with a steal. He goes the distance the other way for the bucket. The Eagles able to maintain their first-half lead. Nice ball movement results in a three from Mike Hughes. And later inside to B.J. Gladden for the bucket. And Georgia Southern goes on to take the Rattlers by a final of 83-72. To Saturday we go. Georgia Southern taking on Radford. Tied at the half. Second half, Radford pulling ahead, going inside to Randy Phillips, 2 of his 12. The Eagles coming back. Sean O'Connell with the three. He'd have 15 points and 9 boards. Next, Mike Hughes inside to Ike Smith for the layup. Later, Devontae Boykins penetrates for 2. The lead cut to 2, but Radford extends their lead a little later to 7 on this Caleb Tanner three-pointer. The Eagles continue to cut away at the lead. Monte Glenn inside. Next, the dish outside to Jake Alsmiller for 3. More from Alsmiller, this time from the near side corner. The Eagles 8 for 13 from behind the arc, including this three right here from Boykins. The lead cut to 2. Tukey Brown then starting to heat up. He hits this from just inside the arc. But again, Radford takes the lead back. Christian Bradford's three gives Radford a 2-point lead. But again, here come the Eagles. Jake Alsmiller from NBA 3 range. Radford by 1. Ike Smith then with the jumper. This will help to tie things up. And then it's Tukey Brown with about a minute to go with what would prove to be the game winner as the Eagles escape with a 65-64 victory. And next up, back to Savannah for the men and for the women as they'll be taking on Savannah State on Thursday. And then the guys come home for a 2 o'clock matchup on Sunday against Florida Gulf Coast. Well, that'll wrap things up for now. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again soon.